Hey everyone, this is Natalie Achonwa, and welcome to episode number 4 of Nat Chat, where this episode is going to be a little bit different. Last week, I sat down with ESPN reporter Holly Rowe, and we did our usual fun conversation. We played our games like we do normally on Nat Chat, but then it led to something a lot deeper. It led to a discussion about race relations in the United States and how we can make a change in our own circles. So instead of airing our regular episode, we're going to cut it all out. We're going to give you guys the raw conversation that Holly and I had and what we touched on. So I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. And thanks for watching this episode of Nat Chat. Natalie Achonwa here. Nat Chat. Nat Chat. Welcome to Nat Chat, the latest and the greatest. With current events, with everything that's going on, with quarantine, with the state of the nation. Let's talk about that. How do you deal with that mentally? How do you deal with that emotionally? How do you put on this proud, this brave, this face every day to be able to face the world and all that we're going through?
Well, I'm normally like the world's most optimistic person. Like, I think that's one of my great skills in life is I'm positive. Like, I see everything glass half full for sure. I have been a little anxious during the pandemic because my life revolves around sports, and I know that I'm a mom. Like that's who I am. That's my purpose in life. But outside of that, I love sports. And so having nothing, it's been really weird. I don't know who I am without sports. And that feels weird to admit out loud, but it's true. So that's been hard. But more recently, we've seen a lot of racial incidents happening in our country. And like today, I think I was sharing with you, I just can't quit crying today. It's been really tough because my son is biracial. I know you and I have talked about this before. And I'm scared for my child. And I think of these mothers who are losing their children. And I don't know what to do. I think why I'm so upset is I feel helpless. So I have joined action committees. I'm calling senators. Like, I am trying to do things to make a difference.
I think the biggest thing that when I had a conversation with my mother last night, actually, because she's Caucasian as well. And I think the biggest thing that I was portraying to her is that use who you are in your circles, in your community, in your workspace, in your friends, in your family to bring awareness, to educate. She was telling me a story about when she was at work one time and somebody felt comfortable enough to make a racial comment in her presence. And I said, did you correct it? Did you allow it to happen? And she said, no. She said, I explained to them that that was incorrect, that was inaccurate, and that it was shameful that they said that, and they were taken back. And I said, the biggest thing in what you just said is that you didn't have to say, I have Black children. It's okay to be a white ally, and it's okay to be you and support Black Americans and Black people in general without having to reference your connection to the Black community. You can be who you are and still support and still encourage people to love everyone. I think you speaking on your optimism and your love for all is something that's important. Using your platform to spread word, to engage with people in healthy conversations and healthy debates. I think a big takeaway that I always have is you can like apples and not be against oranges. I can know that there are good law enforcement, there are good police officers, and know that just because there's a situation now where there's tension, that not all police officers are bad, not all Black people are bad. It's not grouping an entire race. It's not grouping an entire profession, but to know that who you are, who you raise your son to be, who you accept around you in your circles is just as important as sharing something on Instagram or sharing something on Twitter. I think it's important because when I get so worked up is when I'm seeing what's happening in the news is you can relate to it, because I see a Black man being killed and I see my boyfriend and I see my father, I see my brother. And I think that's what makes it hit home. And I think it's important, though, to have those emotions and have that feeling and have that uproar, because the only way is if white people step up and say that it's not okay. we need the allies, because the way the system is set up is that that's where the power lies. So if we want to even the playing field, if we want all lives to really matter, Black lives have to matter first, because they don't right now. They're being slain in the streets in broad daylight. That is not easy. You can't get to that point.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like I want to walk into my police department here and say, I need to know how you're being trained to police African American. Like, I need answers. Like, I just feel so upset about it. Like, I need answers. I need to know what we're doing in my little neighborhood, in my community. Because if I could change my small area, that change could get bigger and bigger and bigger.
But that's like, how it works, Holly. That's how it works. Is you challenging the status quo, is not being okay with how it is where you are in your small circle, so that when we can get to a bigger scale, you have to start with the micro, right? You have to start with the little things in your community. Like that's why I told my mom, like, you don't have to take on the world, Mom. You can't do it yourself, right? Is start with your group, start with your family. So, I mean, I grew up with, I think, with my mom's side of the family, and where I felt like I didn't belong. Like, this is, I feel like, I've had a conversation like with biracial people across all walks of life. And this is a battle that I think we go through a lot, is trying to figure out where you belong, because you're never Black enough for the Black community. You're never white enough for the white community. And it's always like a tension of like, where do you truly belong? And I think that is something that comes on your own. But that was one of the conversations I had with my mom. Like, you need to focus on your group, your family, and make it not okay that I felt like that and I'm blood related. So start there, build with your friends, your family, your workplace, and right there. And that's how we tackle the world. We can't do it by ourselves.
That's good. Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with my son who said, because we had a conversation about, like, you didn't feel like that growing up. Like, you didn't have these experiences growing up. And he said, Mom, my experiences are very different when I'm with you and when I'm not with you. Like, he went to tour. I set up a tour at a gym in New York that we wanted to join. And he went without me, and he got treated like dirt. And I called the lady and I was like, this is my son that I set up this appointment, and you treated him like a young Black kid in New York, like he was not rich enough to be in your facility or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's how it is all the time, Mom. And it's been really hard for me to hear, because I don't see it, but it's when we're together and people treat him differently when we're together. And, so we're having some of those conversations, but you're right. I thought I was going to contact the mayor's office and say, I would love for us to set up some meetings with African-American leaders in our community and the police and the mayor's office and white advocates in this area of let's all get to know each other. You're going to be scared of me if you know me.
That's a big piece. That's a big piece is often, I think, where a lot of the issues come is from, you have police officers or you have people in power that are policing and monitoring areas where they don't know the people. So How do you expect to, when somebody runs away and you're shooting them in the back, how do you know that is not fear? And that's not that they're probably more afraid of you than you are of them.
Right.
And so it's like, how do you manage these areas if you don't know the people? And that's the biggest disconnect, I think. And also, I mean, there's so much, if you get into systematically how it's messed up. But I think a big piece is, like you said, making sure that the people in power are aware that it's not right, that you're willing to step up and say something about it. And also getting people in power with like minds of us. Voting, and that's not and hiring. It's like, you can talk big government. I'm not even talking big government at this point. I'm talking little things. I'm talking, if you want to talk in the sports world, African American ADs, women ADs. That's a discrimination as well.
Yes,
women coach. Like, there's so many different ways in our small bodies that we can impact and make these changes. It's so big. It's so big, but.
But I like what you're saying is start small is my circle, and I can be this pebble in my pond here, that ripple effect is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Exactly. So yeah, I'm happy to talk to you anytime about this, because I want to get better and be better. I know I'm not perfect, and I'm learning constantly, but I have the desire. I think that's the most important thing. I want to be the best I can be and treat people the best I can. So
I think it's important to have these conversations and to know that there are good people in everywhere, that we just need to continue to fight the good fight, and stay positive.
And support each other. Like, I know that all of us in the WNBA, like, we love each other. We are a community and we are a family. And it's not that you don't see color. It's like, I see Natalie, I see Holly, I want to see and celebrate and empower the uniqueness and differences in you. And I know you feel the same about me. So I just want us to all be there and support each other.
And I think you do that and I do that. And I'm grateful for the WNBA and the Indiana Fever to give us an opportunity to use our platforms to share love, to share positivity, to share everything that is bigger than just basketball and that's going on in our world right now. So once again, Holly, thank you so much. Thank you for being real. Thank you for being genuine. Thank you for being you. And thank you so much for coming on Nat Chat. As we wrap up episode number 4 of Nat Chat, I wanted to leave you with a quote and words of wisdom from Martin Luther King Jr. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And especially in a difficult time like now, there's always hope if we keep fighting to move forward. So stay safe, stay healthy, and thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Nat Chat. Nat Chat. Nat Chat. The latest and the greatest